Hey everybody, this is Carl from Carl's Opinion, and welcome to our Thursday night live call-in, live video call-in show. So welcome everybody aboard, and I see we got Pantera and Effie Loves America in the chat room. How you guys doing? And dude, where the heck is Carl? Hey, right here, man. Carl's right here. Hey, 8 o'clock, right on the dot. That's what we do. We try to be on time. That way gives everybody a chance to know when we're coming on. Try to keep a good schedule. My full-time job is not YouTube, obviously. I'm a full-time attorney, so that's my priority. That's my career. That's my passion. That's my life. So yeah, we so I don't have set schedules. It makes it a little. You have to kind of find me, and I do post. I try to post them with enough advance notice, like 2-3 hours sometimes. Over the weekend, we were doing the live event out in the field at the Wild West Extravaganza here in Pahrump, Nevada. I kind of was working between the music from the live band, which was a cover band, so they're playing, original music from like, Leonard Skinner and, et cetera. So I had to kind of stay away from that. And then also we had the rodeo was also on, and I was right behind my booth, and they were playing from a CD. Hey, Michael. Hey, how you doing there, Mike? How you doing, man? Good seeing you there, Mike. And so we had the rodeo playing behind us, and they were playing off a CD, and they were playing, of course, other people's music. So I kind of had to watch it. YouTube doesn't like that kind of thing happening there as far as, copyright strikes and things of that sort. So, we had to I didn't always have a lot of notice. Sometimes I think I gave, one time I think I gave like 10 minutes notice, getting between the sets and between the rodeo and stuff. But yeah, it was actually a really fun event. Had a really good time out there and met a whole bunch of people, gave out a lot of business cards, and probably signed up a whole bunch of people that weekend. So that was good. That was the third event I had done out here in Pahrump. I did the Balloon Festival, didn't have a booth, but was out there the day and in the morning, during the day, and also in the evening for the live night show Balloon Festival, where they had the electric lights on the balloons. Well, they fire them up in different order pursuant to music, and all choreographed, and that was really nice to watch, and I broadcasted there. Then I also did the chili cook-off. That was a 2-day live event. And then, of course, the Wild West. And then what I did, I put in the newspaper, ran full-page ads in the newspaper to, bring people into both the events and also, let them know I'd be out there on the site. So I had a really good time. And so, yeah, we don't always get to put a lot of notice up, but we do the best we can here. So we got a lot of news to get to, and we'll go ahead and get to it right now. The first story I wanted to cover was this from the Washington Times. The House panel votes to block military construction money from going towards border wall. So let's take a look at that. All right. Appropriations Committee also passes measure to allow Dreamers to work on Capitol Hill. So while the Democrats in the House, you got to love them, while they're voting on one hand to block military construction money from going towards the border wall, they're also passing a measure to allow illegal aliens to work on Capitol Hill. Because Dreamers aren't, well, they're illegal aliens. The Dreamers are, of course, children who were brought here when they were young, or I don't know, maybe when they were 17 and a half. I have no idea. It doesn't really matter. The Democrats don't care how old they were. But they're brought here illegally, and they're known as Dreamers because, I don't know, somebody came up with that phrase instead of illegal alien. So anyway, so they're allowing illegal aliens to work on Capitol Hill at the same time they're voting to block military construction from going towards the border wall, pursuant to President Trump's declaration of a national emergency. So let's go and cover this. This is by David Sherfinsky of the Washington Times. The House Appropriations Committee moved Thursday to stop part of President Trump's border emergency wall building, voting to claw back money the administration wanted to siphon from military construction and use for new fencing. Committee Democrats also passed a separate bill that would pave the way for Dreamers, immigrants who came to the U.S. illegally as children, to legally work as staffers in Congress, showing an eagerness to use the 2020 spending bill to advance their immigration agenda. And this is from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, of course, who has no credibility whatsoever. She's the one who pretty much stole the Democratic nomination from Bernie Sanders, who would have had a much better shot of beating Donald Trump in the general election in 2016 than Hillary Clinton, that's for sure. And so here's what Debbie Wasserman Schultz has to say. Whether we agree or disagree on the need for a wall, or whether there is or is not a crisis at the border, well, there is a crisis at the border. Even President Obama's former Homeland Department Secretary, Jay Johnson, who was on Morning Joe, who probably freaked them out, said there is a crisis at the border. He also went on to say it is not a manufactured crisis by the Republicans or by the president. It is a real crisis. he was talking about, if he had more than 1,000 border crossings in a given week or a month or day, he would be really upset about it. And they were looking at 4,000 or 5,000 a day, and he couldn't even imagine. He said he couldn't imagine what that would be like. And he goes, anyway, she goes on to say, I hope this committee can agree that funds for the wall should not be stolen from previously approved vital military construction projects that are to a dollar a higher priority than any wall, said Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida. That's not true. The wall is for national security. Some of these building projects are, well, they're Pentagon building projects, and let's be honest. I mean, we're all in favor of a strong military, a strong defense. We're all in favor of high budgets for the military, but there are items in there that do have a less priority than securing our border from people who mean to do us harm, who want to bring drugs across the border. People, there's something like, I think they found something like 14 different nationalities or 34 nationalities crossing the border at different times, coming from all around the world, some coming from the Middle East as well. They actually stopped a few terrorists from coming across the border because they know it's a soft place to get across. You don't have to try to, have a phony passport or anything like that to try to get into the country through an airport or port of entry. We can just cross illegally with a caravan or pay a coyote to go across with, several people. So anyway, she goes on to say, well, the Washington Times goes on the right. She and fellow Democrats, joined by one Republican, voted to approve the fiscal 2020 military construction bill with language preventing Mr. Trump from spending any money appropriated for a military construction project in the new bill and the previous 5 bills on his border wall. Mr. Trump in February declared a border emergency and flexed his powers under the National Emergencies Act to shift money within the Pentagon for new purposes, in this case $3.6 billion from military construction. He also shifted $601 million from a Treasury Department forfeiture fund and $2.5 billion from a Pentagon drug interdiction fund. Mr. Trump is sure to object to the new restrictions, and Representative Andy Harris, Maryland Republican, objected to the framing of the issue. That's pretty inappropriate because stealing is actually a crime. No crime was committed, Mr. Harris said. You might not like what the president did in his emergency declaration, but the fact is it was legal. It was legal and constitutional. It was passed by the Democrats are the ones who voted in favor of allowing a president to have national emergency powers and also to be able to redirect funds from the Pentagon to that were previously appropriated to previously approved measures that Congress had passed, to wit, building the wall. They had already passed that in 2014, as well as in, I believe, 2006. They just never finished it. So he just is moving money around to previously approved measures from Congress and previously appropriated funds in the defense budget. So it was all legal. If you notice, Congress hasn't challenged it in the courts because there is no challenge to it. If Congress is upset with the National Emergencies Act, there is a provision for them to get rid of it, to which they can vote by 2/3 majority in both houses to undo it. They tried that; it didn't work, but that is their remedy. In other words, like say President Trump did something really stupid, serious, crazy for some dumb reason. Okay, then the House and the Senate can immediately cut it off. Then you'd find 2/3 support in both houses. That wouldn't be a problem. But the point is, it gives the president discretion to be able to use those funds once he declares a national emergency. Pretty much the only requirements he has is to report to Congress and keep an accounting. It's the only provisions. Again, this was a Democratic Congress that passes, I believe, in 1976. Democratic House and Democratic Senate. The overall bill provides about $108 billion in discretionary funding for military construction and veterans programs, about a $10 billion boost from 2019. That includes about $2 billion in emergency funding tied to hurricane recovery efforts in the Southeast and close to $1 billion in special war funding that isn't subject to spending caps. The committee on Thursday also advanced a separate bill that funds legislative branch programs next year and includes language that would allow Dreamers in the U.S. under protection of the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program to work on Capitol Hill, which is amazing. It's like the bill passed on a party line 28-22. What is the reason for that? There isn't one. I think I should go over, hang out in the Congress, and wait for them in the parking lot. When they come out, just grab them and get them deported. That would teach them a lesson. Yeah, that'd actually be pretty funny. DACA recipients have a legal right. And this is what Appropriations Committee Chairman Nita Lowry of a New York Democrat said. DACA recipients have a legal right to work in the United States and to contribute to our economy and our communities, said Appropriations Committee Chairman Nita Lowry. It is well past time they be able to contribute to the business of Congress as well. Non-U.S. citizens are generally barred from working for the federal government with some exceptions. Overall, the legislative bill provides close to $4 billion in discretionary spending for programs in the legislative branch, which includes the House, the Capitol Police, and the Congressional Budget Office. That's about a 4% increase from 2019 levels. Yeah, well, anyway, that's, it just goes to show you where their priorities are, that they don't have any. Let's jump over to the next story here. And again, live call-in show. Hey, great douchebag. And codename Nebraska. See you guys in there. And Michael, again, thanks for joining us. And so let's jump to our next story here. This one's really weird. Let's see. Too much, too soon. California slammed for kindergarten gender identity talks in sex education. It was 5-year-olds. That's when you want to start talking about gender identity talks in sex education for a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old. I mean, that's finger painting time. I mean, this is really crazy. This is California. Hey, been there, done that. Happy I'm not there anymore. Anyway, so let's see what they're trying to do over there. All right, a new California. Here we go. This is from Christopher Von Drasik, again of the Washington Times. A new California sex education guidance encourages teachers to talk to kindergartens about gender identity and middle schoolers about masturbation, worrying some education leaders who say the nation's largest school system isn't pulling them into conversations they don't want to have with children in their classrooms. Okay, this is insane. You're going to talk to middle schoolers about masturbation. Okay, well, I was a young kid, middle school age. Trust me, nobody had to talk to me about masturbation. Okay, except let me know that I might go blind someday. And so I was in Catholic school, so I asked a nun. I said, "Hey, Sister Mary," I said, "is it true that if I masturbate, I'll go blind?" And she says, "Yes, that's true." I said, "Well, maybe can I just masturbate until I have to wear glasses?" She didn't like that answer too much. I got hit with a ruler right across the knuckles. Bam! So anyway, yeah, there you go. But I mean, but in a serious note, this sex education guidance for kindergarten, teaching them about gender identity. I guess asking them if how they identify themselves. Asking a 5-year-old, it's okay to, talking to a 5-year-old boy, say, well, it's okay to identify as a girl if you want. And the kid's probably like, what the hell are you talking about? And then saying to a 5-year-old girl, well, it's okay for you to identify as a boy if you want. It's kind of insane, but it is what it is. There you go. But anyway, so after a contentious hearing Wednesday, the California State Board of Education approved the guidance. It endorses ideas of gender fluidity. I love how they come up with these words. Gender fluidity and sex positivity, and posits what some see as alarming scenarios, such as a health teacher discussing non-monogamous relationships. Oh, there you go. So you can't discuss marriage, but you can discuss, kindergarten, Mike. You can't discuss marriage, like marriage is between a man and a woman, or marriage is a good thing. But you can discuss it's okay to not be monogamous. You can have, I guess, be with one girl if you're a guy, and then have another girlfriend. Teaching them at a young age. Basically, again, they're just trying to break down the family unit, trying to prevent a family unit from even being established in the first place. Because people who are looking to get married aren't looking to be with somebody who's in favor of non-monogamous relationships. Hey, I want to get married to you, but I got these 2 other women I want to bring along with. So that's okay, right? I mean, we learned that in kindergarten. Don't you remember, 15 years ago? Don't you remember that? It was okay then. It's okay now. Yeah. Well, you're not going to have very good long-term relationships, if that's what your value system is. And if that's what you're being taught in school by someone that you respect, to it, your teacher, especially if 5, 6 years old, then you look up to your teachers. You figure like they know what they're talking about. It's not when you get on later in life you realize most of them don't know anything they're talking about. But at the age of 5, you think, oh, this is someone to respect. I'm told to respect this person from my parents. I'm told to look up to this person. I'm told to be able to talk to this person if I have a problem. And yet here they are, using that respect and that trust, to push their own agenda, their own sick agenda, 1, about non-monogamous relationships, and 2, gender fluidity and sex positivity. One can only imagine what those textbooks look like. The guidance for teachers of the Golden State's 6.2 million public school children has elicited concerns from social conservatives and traditional family groups that what happens in California doesn't stay there. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people in California move out here. I lived in California. I moved to Nevada, but I didn't trust me. I didn't bring any Democratic, liberal, leftist ideas with me. But a lot of people in California do. And that's what they're concerned about. It's like, well, they started, then next thing you know, some other state's going to want it, and some other state, some other state, some other state. When pleasure-based and consent-based sex ed is discovered at a school, parents are rightly furious. Right, that the parents should be teaching their children this, said Kathy Bruce, a legal fellow with the Family Research Council. Only parents know their own children and know whether material might be too much, too soon for their child. Proponents of comprehensive sex education are cheering California's decision, though they don't necessarily see a wave of sex education classes using the guidance as a model sweeping the nation. Jessica Sales, an associate professor at the Rollins School of Public Health at Emory University, said some more progressive states or other states along the West Coast may follow California's lead, but historically it has not been the case that the state's sex education policies have been copied and applied widely. So health literacy for all students in California. Well, anyway, so that's where California's at. That's kind of crazy, but yeah, we got a live call-in show tonight. It's there's several topics I like to cover, but if open topic, if you want to talk about something else, a different topic, that's fine too. The phone number is 773-273-8970. Got a little thunder or lightning storm going on right now where I live, so if we lose power, that's why. If you suddenly see everything zap out, it wasn't YouTube doing it. It was literally, the thunder and the lightning. So there you go. But and also, if you want to appear by vMix video phone call, if you haven't sent me an email before, I haven't sent you one before, just need to send me an email to ca2jogger@gmail.com, and then I'll reply with a link. Just hit said link, type in your username, hit join call, boom, you're in. Not a big deal. It's pretty simple. You won't hear me right away, so just sit tight till I come get you. I got to bring you into a different screen, but that only takes a couple of seconds or so. Just sit tight. I'll find you. Don't worry. All right, so let's take a look. See what else we got going on here today. Another story I want to cover. Okay. Oh well, we can't go a day without talking about the Mueller report, Barr, and all the other crap surrounding it. The Democrats just won't let go of. So let's see. "Quote unquote," Washington Times, and they're calling it a "quote unquote" constitutional crisis. Because partisan warfare over the Mueller report escalates, and one has to wonder, because I remember watching when Eric Holder defied a subpoena from Congress. I want to say it was 2012. I'm not real sure. I can't remember the exact year. But, I don't remember the media covering this and calling it a constitutional crisis. But, on MSNBC this morning, that's all you heard. Constitutional crisis. They got the same talking points the Democrats have. It's like they do coordinate, by the way. I don't know who gives who the talking points, but trust me, those talking points are all the same. It's a constitutional crisis. Well, Eric Holder defied a subpoena. And what he was defying a subpoena about had to do with the Fast and Furious program that the Attorney General's office had put together with the Drug Enforcement Agency and BATF, whereby they were going to. Somebody had the brilliant idea that, well, we should track the guns that the cartel is using, so we'll give them guns and then track them somehow. Well, anyway, they weren't able to track them, and a lot of these guns were put in the hands of cartel members down along the border. And one of those guns that they have, of course, had the serial number on, everything was used to kill a Border Patrol agent. So if you imagine, that was quite a scandal, albeit most people probably don't even realize that thing even happened. Why? Because the media didn't cover it 24/7, wall to wall, and call it a constitutional crisis. Because they asked, after they got most of the information, they asked Eric Holder for additional information on the investigation and everything else like that. And Holder objected. And the main reason why he objected, he said, "Hey, look, you guys aren't using this for oversight. You guys are using this." "Hey, Jervis, how you doing there? Good seeing you." But he goes, "You guys aren't using this for oversight. You guys are just using it to rake me over the coals and just to mess with me. And I'm not going to obey it. And we're not going to disclose our internal investigations. We're not going to give you the source document of that. The Attorney General's office has to be free to be able to conduct investigations without worrying that these documents are going to end up in Congress and leaked all over D.C." And so he disobeyed it. And I remember that at the time. And at the time, I agreed with him. I said, "Hey, this is just Congress. Congress was upset." Now here's the difference, the big difference. One, nobody died in this deal with Barr and the Mueller report. And secondly, the reason why the Republicans were so upset at the time is because they weren't getting any media coverage on this. Okay, the media wasn't covering it. It was one of those stories you see if you're watching like MSNBC or CNN for like an hour-long show. The story might appear like 45 minutes in or 50 minutes in. Basically when most people have tuned off. It definitely wasn't covered in the first 10 minutes or even the first half hour of their shows. And it wasn't being covered by the Washington Post, the New York Times, LA Times, etc. So they wanted to get more. They wanted more information. They actually were kind of sparring for a fight. Holder gave them one, and then they still wasn't covered. They still didn't get what they wanted. So, but here Barr is saying, hey, look, we're not going to turn over investigation source documents and things like that. We're definitely not going to turn it over to you guys. The Mueller report, we've redacted as much as we can. The Republicans were fine with even giving everything to Congress except the Rule 6E language that had to do with grand jury information. And then it's hilarious today, and it looks like the Democrats agreed to that because they actually proposed an amendment saying, okay, we want everything except the grand jury information, which is actually a felony if you release grand jury testimony, anything that grand jury sat in and saw, something that didn't make it its way to an indictment because you want to preserve the integrity of the grand jury. It's actually a felony. So Barr's like, hey, I'm not going to commit a felony just so you guys can go on a witch hunt. And not to mention, all you guys are really want to do is just to get some dirt. A lot of things that were redacted also were just, the FBI following up on leads that went nowhere. And so a lot of people's names would be implicated in that, people who were looked at but did nothing wrong. But yet once their names get out there, we know how that works. I mean, they'll just be hounded. I mean, their lives are over. So a certain amount of information that doesn't need to get out there. But Barr already had provided a much less redacted version of the Mueller report than went out to the public, and that included some of the personal stuff and things like that. But definitely not the grand jury stuff. And so he's like, hey, it's in the classified briefing room as of just a few days ago. Now, one Democrat had gone to the classified briefing room in the basement where they log in, sign in, and actually they can't bring cameras in, recording devices, anything like that. They can't take anything with them. They can't bring any notepads in. But they can view any of the redacted materials. And that one Democrat had gone down there to even look at it, even though they were clamoring for this for the last month. So kind of it's just completely just a partisan witch hunt. It really, they're not in search of the truth. They're not Mueller. I mean, then they want Mueller to testify, which is amazing. Mueller must be saying, Jesus Christ, how much more do you want me to write? He wrote 448 pages, and he details his thought process and his legal reasoning. Really, I mean, God, you couldn't submit that to a judge. He'd throw right back at you and say, Jesus Christ, tell her this thing down so I could read it. But I mean, he wrote 448 pages. I disagreed with some of the conclusions, obviously, but he definitely laid out his reasoning and his thought process and the details and the history of the law and everything else behind it and how he came up with his conclusion or how he decided not to come up with a conclusion. He wrote down why. I mean, it was a remarkably detailed, very specific brief. There were some things he left out, but those things I'm sure the Democrats don't want to hear about anyway. There were some of the things left out about the CIA and the National Security Agency. He left out of his report. Not that it was redacted; it was in there and got redacted. It was just that he just didn't bother to talk about it. So, I mean, but those things the Democrats don't want to talk about. But, I mean, Mueller's got to be like, well, okay, we need Mueller to explain this report. I mean, gee, a 448-page report doesn't need any explaining. That's why he wrote it to be 448 pages. If he had written a 20-page report, it's like, oh, can you explain what you meant by this? Okay, I could see that. But 448 pages, it's specific. You can actually get it. It's Amazon. You get it on cloud. You get it like an iCloud thing. You can download it and read it. And I did. And I skipped over some of the case law. I didn't pull up every single case he cited, but I pulled up some of the summaries of the cases that were cited, and talking about whether can Congress pass a law that would infringe on the president's Article 2 powers. The whole thing, the law Congress passing is obstruction of justice, obviously not being passed just for the president or more even President Trump, just an obstruction of justice statute. So the question is, can the Congress pass a statute that would impinge upon the president's Article 2 powers? And Mueller seemed to be leaning towards, yes, they can, but it's a good argument on both sides. Although it's a better argument. Alan Dershowitz wrote the intro to the copy I downloaded, and he goes, Bob Barr's, Bill Barr's on the right side on this one. He's on the right side of history. He's on the right side of the case law. To get to the position where Congress can the president, Congress passed a law that declare the president being obstructing justice and into investigation. You really got to twist some logic to get to that point, and that's what Mueller, I think, did. Barr looked at it and said, "No, I'm not going that far. There was no criminal intent." Obviously, Trump knows he's 100% innocent because, trust me, if he wasn't, it would have been out there on the collusion, the conspiracy with the Russians. So obviously, after 2 years, $30 million, 50 wiretaps, 500 witness interviews, 500, I can't remember, subpoenas, I lost count, 40 FBI agents, 2,700 requests, subpoenas for documents, foreign country contacts, the whole 10 yards. I mean, if he did something wrong, he must like to be the best at keeping a secret, and everybody around him must have been great at keeping a secret too. And in D.C., nobody can keep a secret. If it contains more text than the back of a cereal box, the Democrats will never understand it. Yeah, totally agree with you on that one. Effie, they're just being lazy. They want an easy soundbite to grab onto. Totally agree. Jervis, Dems are looking to punish anyone who doesn't help their agenda. Agree. Like the Dems give a rat's behind about the Constitution. True. Disabled vet. Let's see. Oh, you have some bad connections there. Disabled. Too bad, man. Sorry. Bad weather here too. Just waving my hand while I can connect. Yeah. Well. Yeah, we're still up here. I'm on the AT&T towers for the most part, and also I use two internet devices with AT&T, and then one with our local electric company. So all three are still up and still working. So we're good to go here. You probably can. I'm using a dynamic mic tonight instead of a condenser mic. So you probably can't hear the thunder, but it is thundering outside. That's for sure. And let's see here. So let's go and cover this story here. So again, the quote-unquote constitutional crisis looms as partisan warfare over the Mueller report escalates. All right. This is by Jeff Murdoch and Stephen Dinan of the Washington Times. Stephen Dinan, I'm probably butchering his name, Dinan. He's done a lot of reporting on the Mueller investigation, and he's done some really excellent reporting for the Washington Times. Anyway, so here they go. President Trump asserted executive privilege Wednesday to block Democrats from obtaining the full special counsel's report, and the House retaliated by taking the first step to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt of Congress as the clash neared the realms of a quote-unquote constitutional crisis. No, it's not. Anyway, again, we survived Holder disobeying a subpoena, being held in contempt of Congress, being sued, and somehow we're still all here. Nothing has happened to us. We're still here, 7 years later. The world hasn't ended. It wasn't an attack on our democracy. It was Holder saying the same thing Barr is saying. In fact, Barr is using Holder's defense. He's actually quoting Holder in why he's not wanting to appear or produce the documents or request. He actually took the language from the letter that that Holder wrote, well, the Department of Justice wrote on behalf of Holder at the time, which is really funny, by the way. And saying, hey, look, this is not, I'm not going to be part of some kind of witch hunt, okay? We're done with the Mueller thing. As far as concerned, the Justice Department is finished with that, and you guys are just trying to, chase me around, chase all this around, just trying to get ammunition for an impeachment process. Read the report. You have everything, if you want to, right there. You don't need anything else. So if you need something else, that means you don't have enough to begin with. Anyway. Mr. Trump's assertion of privilege came after negotiations over access to special counsel Robert Mueller's work broke down late Tuesday. Justice Department said it expects eventually to narrow its objections, but for now it asserted privilege over everything, giving the president time and space to make more careful determinations. Faced with Chairman Nadler's blatant abuse of power and at the Attorney General's request, the president has no other option than to make a protective assertion of executive privilege, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said. Judiciary Chairman Gerald Nadler rejected that explanation, blaming Mr. Barr for short-circuiting negotiations on access to Mr. Mueller's work. Well, remember, Mueller works for the Department of Justice. What do they need to see all the logs and everything else for? Again, read the 448-page, very detailed report. Okay, it's there. You don't need mental notes and impressions. You don't need, investigations that led nowhere, that name names, that will subject people to ridicule who did nothing wrong. And also, you definitely don't need any Rule 60 grand jury information, which would be a felony to release. He also says it's too late for the president to assert privilege, signaling the likelihood of a court battle where a federal judge will play referee, which will eventually find its way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And we know who sits there. Yay! The decision represents a clear escalation of the Trump administration's blanket defiance of Congress' constitutionally mandated duties, Mr. Nadler say. Now, see, that's the whole thing. They're not acting under the Constitution to on oversight on this. That's not what they're doing. If they were doing that, I'd probably say, well, they have a right to it. But this has nothing to do with their oversight duties. This is just trying to go after President Trump, trying to go after Bill Barr, and really being pissed off that Mueller didn't just hand them, a straight impeachable offense in the 2-year investigation, and they're still pissed off about it. Well, sorry, there was nothing there. And Mueller, as much as he wanted to, would have liked to have made something up on the conspiracy with the Russians, didn't do it. We are now in a constitutional crisis, he added. Yeah, I know. You heard that all on MSNBC this morning. His first step Wednesday was to lead his committee in reprimanding Mr. Barr. The panel voted 24-16 along party lines to recommend contempt proceedings to the whole House, which must hold its own vote. If that House vote is successful, Mr. Barr would become only the second Attorney General to be held in contempt. The first was Obama administration Attorney General Eric Holder, who, like Barr, balked at turning documents over to the House at that time led by the GOP. At issue is the unredacted version of Mr. Mueller's 448-page report and reams of supporting documents Mr. Mueller compiled. Now, you got to remember something else. See, under the old independent counsel statute, which Mr. Nadler, at the time, back in, I think, 2001, 2002, when they were changing the law from an independent counsel to a special counsel, the independent counsel was the group of people that investigated President Clinton, where all the investigation became public. It was published in big volumes of reams of paper, detailing everything that led nowhere, very personal information, grand jury information, everything. It was just the whole thing. And the Democrats were really upset that a lot of this stuff that wasn't relevant to the investigation, wasn't relevant to any impeachment proceedings, was released to the public. And they thought they were really, really upset about it. So they ended up passing a law changing it from the independent counsel statute to the special counsel statute, which provided tons of safeguards to keep this stuff private. In other words, Mueller, the special counsel, wasn't expected to turn over, in fact, was not allowed to turn over all this stuff publicly, and all the determinations would be made by the Attorney General. That's pretty much the gist of the law. And as far as, even a report, potentially, Barr didn't have to make, the report was from the special counsel, according to the statute, was supposed to be written to the Attorney General. Didn't say it was to be made public. It was like even that 448 pages. Now, Barr knew if he held on to that, it'd be, everybody, what are you trying to hide? So he's like, okay, I tell you what, I'm going to redact certain parts, but I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm redacting them also. He had 3 color codes, I'm pretty sure he said. He had one for grand jury testimony, one for ongoing investigations in the Southern District of New York and other jurisdictions. Obviously, you don't want to turn that over. If you're really interested in prosecuting people, you don't want to turn over the investigations and all the source material on that, because potentially the defendants can get a great heads up prior to getting indicted of what's coming down. So, I mean, again, I'm sure there's assistant U.S. attorneys and a U.S. attorney of the Southern District of New York who's really not happy about all this information being made public while they're in the middle of their investigation. And then the third was anything that was like kind of, investigation that led nowhere, where they mentioned names, but it went nowhere. Anything Mueller had that, you chase down a lead and then it turns up dry, that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, there's lots of names and places and stuff that you mentioned in there, and that's not fair to the people who, were never, indicted, maybe never even knew they were under investigation, and suddenly their name's smeared all over the press, and suddenly their lives are ruined. And so he color-coded each of those 3 parts. When they were looking at it, they could say, oh, this was redacted because of this was redacted because of that. And it was very little redactions at 448 pages. And again, except for the grand jury stuff, pretty much the Democrats have the ability to go downstairs and look at all of it anyway. They just want it public so they can just point to it and say, oh, look, Trump, evil, ooh, bad person, bad person. Mr. Barr has released a somewhat redacted version publicly and made a less redacted version available to 12 members of Congress. That version includes information shielded from the public because of ongoing investigations, privacy concerns, and classified information. But it does not include information Mr. Mueller gleaned from a grand jury, which Mr. Barr says he cannot turn over without breaking the law. Mr. Barr has defied two deadlines set by Mr. Nadler. As we have repeatedly explained, the Attorney General could not comply with your subpoena in its current form without violating the law, court rules, and court orders, and without threatening the independence of the Department of Justice's prosecutorial functions. This is exactly almost word for word for the letter that was written by the Attorney General's office when Eric Holder was the AG. It's almost word for word, along the same lines. It's like, look, you're just doing this for just to make some headlines. Well, the Attorney General's office is not there to make headlines. They're there to do investigations and to prosecute people. Democrats accuse Mr. Barr of concealing information to protect the president. They've demanded access to the less redacted report from more than the 12 current lawmakers and want more lenient rules about note-taking and talking about the report with colleagues. Well, the 12 people they're talking about, trust me, that's Pelosi. Let's see, that's the head of that might even be Nadler. I'm not sure. It's definitely the head of the Senate and the House Select Committees on Intelligence. The ranking member in the Senate would be Adam Schiff. He gets to see it, as well as the committee chairperson of both committees in both the House and the Senate, and their ranking members. So Republican, Democrat. The majority leader and the minority leader in the Senate get to see it. Pretty sure the majority leaders in both the majority and the minority leader in the House get to see it, as well as the Speaker of the House. Of course, she gets to see everything. She's Speaker. So I mean, the people who are the people who need to know are seeing it. Okay, so it's not like, oh well, we all want to see it. Well, what's the balancing reason? Why do you all need to see it? That kind of stuff. Forbidden information. Let's see, networks used to change their show. Hey, Steve Nichols, how you doing? Okay, let's see. What's this? Hope to get that program I'm trying to talk about. Can't we make fun of Democrats? Okay. All right. It is deeply okay, we'll go on. Continue. It is deeply disappointing that elected representatives of the American people have chosen to engage in such inappropriate political theatrics, Ms. Kubek said in a statement. Mr. Nadler said it was Mr. Barr who soured the negotiations by refusing to budge. The chairman did make a major concession during Wednesday's committee vote. Right, here we go. He said his subpoena, which requested the entire unredacted Mueller report and supporting evidence, wasn't intended to include grand jury information. Well, yeah, he wanted everything. He said it. He said it out loud, actually, which is protected under Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. The subpoena was never intended to cover Rule 6E, which is why we asked the Attorney General to go to court to get permission to view 6E material. Again, that statement just contradicts itself. It was never intended to put him in jeopardy. Well, jeez. Republicans said that was strange because they have offered an amendment to the subpoena to carve out grand jury information, and it was rejected last time. The committee accepted that amendment on Wednesday, however. That was about the only area of agreement during the 6 hours of committee action that otherwise saw each side question the other side's motives. Let's see. We see the president who is attempting to destroy the basic institutions of government. How do you get there? How do you get there from here? Destroy the basic institution of government. I mean, I keep hearing these people on MSNBC saying that. He's not destroying anything. The institutions are just fine. If Congress just did their job and then just tried to do smear campaigns, there wouldn't be any problems here. Okay, the report's out. Read it. Okay, it's really simple. I mean, read the conclusions. Do you think there's something in those redacted parts that would change the conclusion? No, because Mueller obviously saw the redacted parts because he wrote the damn thing. So anything that's redacted, Mueller had in right in front of him because he wrote it. Okay, he didn't write it, redact it, forget what was there, and then he came up with certain conclusions. So those conclusions are going to be the same. It's not like, and then you can bring them up to the in front of the House and say, well, would you change anything? You can say, like, hell no. It's 448 pages. How long it took to put that together? I'm not changing shit. And that's what it is. If I was him, I'd tell them to go F themselves. I'll be honest with you. That's what I would say. But, hey, Charity, how you doing there? Good seeing you. Hey, Forbidden and Steve. All right. So anyway, live call-in show, 775-273-8970. And if you want to appear by vMix video call, if I've sent you an email in the past, just put in the chat room, hey, I want to hear by video call. Send me a link. I'll shoot you a link. If you haven't, just shoot me an email. Put in the chat that, hey, I'm sending you an email, and then put in the chat that you sent me one, and then I'll reply to your email with a link, and we'll be good to go there. So let's see here. Okay. So, yeah, so anybody, it's, I mean, again, I cover several topics. I have several news stories I want to cover, but, pretty much open topic, kind of brought us to conversation, brought us to discussion. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next story here. This is a good one. Trump overhauls crucial U.S. appeals courts at record pace. It's a generational change. This is actually excellent news. Thanks to Mr. Trump, the Federalist Society, and Mitch McConnell. We're getting these judges through here really, really fast. And it was kind of a perfect timing. A lot of judges were retiring, and they're getting them through with not needing a filibuster majority, thanks to Harry Reid, actually, for changing that rule for U.S. District Court judges and Circuit Court of Appeal judges. I'm not sure if he changed it for Circuit Court of Appeal judges. He might have, but McConnell said, well, what's good for U.S. District Court judges is definitely good for the Supreme Court, and I think Harry Reid changed it for Circuit Court of Appeals judges as well. We'll see, though. We'll read. We'll find out together. Okay, this is by Alex Sawyer, again of the Washington Times. The Senate confirmed Michael Park to be a judge on the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on Thursday, making him the 39th Circuit Court judge to be confirmed under President Trump in a process on a record pace that is steadily reshaping the bench. This is like super important. If you don't think 2020 is important, which I don't know how you can think it isn't, this is super important what's going on here. And keeping the Senate also, because if we don't keep the Senate, trust me, they're not going to pass one single nominee for a U.S. District Court judge or a U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals judge, and definitely not for the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's very important we keep the Senate, very important President Trump gets reelected, and it's very important we get the House back, because you've seen, for all you idiots out there who decided to stay at home and not vote in the midterms, because I don't know, maybe Gilligan's Island was on, it was a repeat, and you hadn't seen it in years, and you had, I could go out to vote, but I got to watch Gilligan's Island, or I don't know, one of those stupid reality TV shows like I Want to Dance or whatever the hell else they got playing out there. But anyway, for all you idiots who didn't go out and vote in 2018, you need to go out and vote in 2020. Okay, there's absolutely no reason in this country not to go out and vote. Most states have early voting. My state, Nevada, 2 weeks, 2 full weeks, including weekends, to early vote. And, if you're smart, you can vote in malls, in the big cities. In our town, we had one place you can go vote. Big deal. You go there, you wait. I waited till the second week. You go like in the afternoon around 2 o'clock. You literally walk in the door and you say hi. And they give you a little sticker and it's sticky. And then you go over there and you sign your name. If your signature matches, they say, here's a card. Go over there and vote. You go over there and vote. You hand them the card back. They give you another sticker that says, I voted, and you walk out the door. Literally, the last time I voted in 2018, I think I was in there and out in 5 minutes. At most. From the time I hit the door to the time I was going out the same door, 5 minutes. There's no reason not to vote in this country. If we don't have early voting, tough. They plan that day. We plan all kinds of other things. You can make a plan for that day, whether you have to get there early or get there late or whatever you have to do. Okay, they're not open from just 9 to 5. Most polling places are open 7 to 7. But, okay, 2020, I get out and vote. Now, if everybody on our side had gone out to vote, and yeah, I know there was fraud on the other side, I got it. But if everybody who had voted in 2016 for President Trump went out and voted in 2018 for the Republicans, the Democrats could have never taken the House again. And they did. So, yes, if you didn't vote, it's your fault. Period. Anyway, Judge Park joins Joseph Bianco, confirmed earlier this week, on that bench, bringing the number of Republican-appointed active judges on the Chief's Second Circuit panel to 6, with 2 more vacancies by this summer. Mr. Trump will soon have a chance to flip control of the circuit, which currently has 7 Democratic appointees. Mr. Trump flipped the 3rd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals earlier this year, taking it from a 7-4 Democratic edge in judicial appointees in 2017 to a 7-6 Republican edge among active judges. That's pretty damn cool. 2 judges are taking senior status over the next couple of months, giving the president a chance to make more gains on that panel. The circuit courts are below the Supreme Court, but because so few cases end up before the justices of the Supreme Court, the circuits are where many consequential cases are decided. True. That makes Republicans' focus on circuit judge confirmations huge, both sides say. It is a generational change. The president is reshaping the courts for a generation, and thank goodness he is, because we need pro-Constitution, rule of law judges. It's an extraordinary opportunity, said Senator Josh Hawley, a Missouri Republican, who joined the Judiciary Committee this year. I think he just defeated, what's her name? I already forgot her name, the female senator from Missouri who lost, the one that got outed on Veritas, something like that. But, yeah, God, I can't remember. I already forgot her name. Clara McCaskill. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was the guy who defeated Clara McCaskill. And she wasn't supposed to lose. She did. Good. Anyway, this guy won. He's now on the Senate Judicial Committee. 11 circuits cover specific regions of the country. Yeah, let me click on this. The Second Circuit, for example, has jurisdiction over Connecticut, New York, and Vermont. The Ninth Circuit handles cases in Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. One circuit has specific jurisdiction over the District of Columbia and handles many cases directly involving the federal government. Another, the Federal Circuit, hears cases on specific topics. Before Mr. Trump took office, Democrats had a 90-71 advantage in appointments of active judges among all the circuits. Republican-appointed judges now lead by a 90-83 margin. Democrats say Mr. Trump has moved too hastily by putting people on the bench who shouldn't be there. Oh, bullshit. Okay, that's nonsense. And this is Richard Blumenthal, again, the guy who fought in Vietnam, who never fought in Vietnam. I don't think he even left the United States, actually. Anyway, Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut says, the Second Circuit has a really deep entrenched tradition of having great jurists, and unfortunately, Trump has broken that. Mr. Blumenthal said he wants a bigger say in Mr. Trump's choices for a state circuit, and that Connecticut has a judicial selection committee to make recommendations. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, you just keep making those recommendations, idiot. Nobody's listening. We have been in touch with the White House, and I'm very hopeful they will respect the recommendations that we make. No, they won't. And why should they? Why should they? AOC won by 16,000 votes in a district of almost 800,000. Yes, disabled. See, exactly. Douchebag, I understand. A lot of Republican ballots were thrown away. I get it, but a lot of Republicans didn't show up. We can blame everybody else all day long, but okay, well, look, we're not leftists. We don't go around blaming everybody else for what we didn't do. Okay, leftists do that. They blame everybody else. Okay, we have to do a little introspection, look at ourselves, and look at the people around us and say, hey, did you vote? And if not, then make sure they get there. Okay, I don't care. Give somebody a ride. I don't have a ride. My car broke down. I ran out of gas. I don't have any money. Get them there. You can drive people to the polls. You know, we all know people who maybe have a hard time getting around. Maybe they need a ride. So give them a ride. It's fine. You give them a ride. It's not illegal to give somebody a ride to the polls. Trust me, totally legal. So yeah, if everybody had come out in 2018 who came out in 2016, we would have kept the House. Pure and simple. We picked up seats in the Senate. So obviously the people in those specific states who were interested in those Senate races, because the president campaigned for them, they turned, we pick up, 2 seats? 2 seats in the Senate when we were supposed to lose, 6 or 7? It's like an 8-9 seat gain. Okay, so don't tell me it's because ballots were stolen. Were they stolen in Missouri? Where Josh Hawley beat Claire McCaskill? Did that happen there? Really? No. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, right. People are lazy on our side, and it's scary. Right. We have Republicans who stay home and not go out and vote. I agree. Okay. There's no reason not to go vote. It is the easiest thing to do in this country. There are people all around the world who would just love to be able to have a chance to go out and vote for the government, for the people who are in charge of them. They would love that opportunity, and they would love to have it as easy as it is to do here. They don't have to worry about somebody shooting you. You don't have to worry about the militia coming by and running you out of town if you vote for the wrong person or something, or some terrorist blowing up the polling place. They don't have to worry about that. Okay, and we don't have to worry about it in this country. People around the world would love to have how easy it is for us, where so many people take it for granted. Again, if the election's coming up, again, it's not like, oh wow, there's an election this November. Yeah, stupid. Where have you been, under a rock? It's like, make plans. Yeah, I don't know, make it a date. A friend of mine who's a liberal, actually, him and his wife, they made plans. They were going to go to the mall, do some shopping, go out to dinner, and while they were doing all this, they were going to go out to vote. hey, you know what? There you go. He's a liberal, and he could have stayed home. That would have been fine with me. But exactly. I mean, they took the time to take a few. And what time? Took a few minutes to think about what they were going to do. Okay, that's all it takes. Again, no excuse, and I'm not making any for anybody. Okay, sorry. All right, so let's see. Here we go. Mr. Trump crossed the mark for 100 judicial confirmations last week, which is not a record. Most of those are at the district court level. Where Mr. Trump has set records is the circuit courts, where Judge Park was the 39th confirmation. President Obama had seated 18 federal appeals court judges at this point in his tenure. Mr. Trump has also won confirmation of 2 Supreme Court justices. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who drives me nuts sometimes, but he is a sneaky SOB, and I like that about him. But anyway, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Kentucky Republican, has been instrumental in shepherding the president's nominees. He called the judicial confirmations his top priority, and he has made it his top priority. Again, when you have representatives in Congress and in the Senate, you're not going to agree with them all the time, okay? But it's good to see that he's doing something that's super important for this country, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life. You must get on that plane. If you don't get on that plane, you'll regret it. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life. Anyway, that's Humphrey Bogart talking to Ingrid Bergman. But if anybody remembers the name of that movie, you'll get a prize. Now, it's really easy. I just gave you 2 of the stars and about getting on a plane. Now, if you can't name that movie, I'll give you another hint. It takes place during World War II. So, again, if you can't name the name of that movie, I don't know what to say. Humphrey Bogart talking to Ingrid Bergman at an airport, okay, about her getting on a plane in the middle of World War II. So, somebody has to know the name of that movie. I'll give you another hint. The name of the movie is based on it's the name of a city. I'll give you another hint. It's the name of a city in northern Africa. Okay, I'll give you another hint. It's the name of a city in Morocco. Oh, jeez. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Hey, name the city, you'll get a free Carl's. Name the city. Name the movie that's named after a city, and you get a free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel hat that says Trump 2020 on it. Yes, well, that's not the that's not the name of the movie though. What's the name of the movie? Effie, what's the name of the movie? Oh my God, am I like the oldest person on this site? I can't believe I'm the oldest person on this site. Yeah, you got it. Okay, if you give me the name of the movie, you get a free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel hat made by GI USA in Pahrump, Nevada. I can't believe nobody else is getting the name of the movie. Yes. Oh, there it is. Well, you spelled it wrong, but good, close enough. Disabled vet gets a free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel hat. Disabled, just send me an email with your address and I'll mail you off a hat. Okay, you get yourself a hat. Get yourself a case of beer. Oh wait, hold on. I'll give you. Here's another one. Let's see. Hold on. Way to go, red team. Get yourself a case of beer for that one. Okay, I'll give you a hint. Robert Duvall, the actor saying that. Yes. No, too late, Jervis. I'm going to give the misspelling is not bad enough. The disabled vet gets the hat. But hey, Jervis, you can get the next one. Okay. Let's see. I'll repeat it again. Let's see. Way to go, red team. Get yourself a case of beer for that one. The hint being that's Robert Duvall, the actor, saying that line. So name the movie. All right. Whoever gets that gets a free Carl's Opinion hat. Whoever says that. Disabled vets, make sure you email me your address so I can mail it to you. Billing sucks, but I rock at math. No, you get the hat, man. You get the hat. You get the hat. But the next one, okay, let's see. I'll give you another hint for the movie. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. This is the same movie with Robert Duvall in it. I'm going to give you another hint. Let's see. There was Lance on the Forward 50s. He was from some surfer. He was a surfer from the beaches south of L.A. One look at him, he looked like he had never fired a weapon in his life. Then there was Chef. He was a saucier from New Orleans. He looked wrapped too tight for Vietnam. Looked wrapped too tight for New Orleans. Then there was Clean, Mr. Clean. Then there was Clean, Mr. Clean. He was some South Bronx shithole. I think all the light in his face really put the zap on him. And then there was the Chief. It might have been my mission, but it sure as shit was the Chief's boat. Okay. That's Martin Sheen in that line. So you got two actors, Martin Sheen, Robert Duvall. I gave you two lines from the movie. I'll give you a hint. It's a war movie. All right. Okay, who can get that one? I just got the lights flickering here. So if I lose power, it wasn't YouTube. It was the Thunders and the Lightningses. All right. Okay, who can get the next one? I give you two big hints, two big lines from the movie. It's a war movie about Vietnam. There's the last hint. Okay, somebody should be able to get that. All right, I'll give you the final hint. If you can't, okay. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory. All right, somebody should get that. Nope. Yep, Jervis, you get yourself ahead. Apocalypse Now. Nope. No, wait. No, hold on. Yes, Apocalypse Now. You're right. You got it. Apocalypse Now, Jervis. And is able to get the two free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel hats today. Ta-da! Dun, ta-da! Okay, so disabled, shoot me your address. I'll mail. Shoot me an email with your address. I'll mail it to you. And Jervis, same thing. Shoot me an email with your address. Put in the email, because I'm assuming your email name is in Jervis346. So put in the email you send to me. Right, tell me what your username is, so I know it's you. Okay. Good deal, man. Good deal. All right, so let's go continue on with this. Story here, and see. Okay, we'll go back to Senate. Okay, here we are. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Kentucky Republican, has been instrumental in shepherding the president's nominees. He called the judicial confirmations his top priority. He has used the nuclear option twice to alter Senate rules to facilitate confirmations. First, to lower the threshold for overcoming a filibuster of Supreme Court picks, and this year to cut the amount of time allowed for post-filibuster debate on district court nominees. Mr. McConnell said, though, that Democrats are still creating roadblocks. He pointed to Judge Bianco, who was confirmed on a 54-42 vote. So are we looking at a controversial person? If, again, he was voted on 54-42. Are we looking at an individual that senators agonized over and painstakingly studied? Judge Bianco brings a unanimous, well-qualified rating from the ABA, American Bar Association. Very liberal organization, by the way, just to let you know. He's already served as a judge for 13 years in the Eastern District of New York, Mr. McConnell said. Oh, and by the way, he was confirmed to that position by voice vote, the majority leader said. In other words, when he was up for confirmation for U.S. District Court judge for the Eastern District of New York 13 years ago, he got in by a voice vote. Nobody even had a real debate on it. Nobody said, "Oh, I want to go on the record and vote yes, yay or nay on this guy." They did it by voice vote. Mr. McConnell pointed out that one of those supporters 13 years ago was Senate Democratic leader Charles Schumer of New York, who called Judge Bianco outstandingly qualified and well respected. Fortunately, at the end of the day, the outcome is the same. Judge Joseph Bianco, along with a slate of other well qualified nominees, is now on the job. So it's hilarious. So basically, Charles Schumer praised this guy 13 years ago to get onto the U.S. District Court for New York, and now, of course, he was against him when he was going up for the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. This is pretty good. Let's see. Democrats said Mr. McConnell and the Senate Republicans' majority are trying to pack the courts with judges they say are outside the mainstream in order to further the president's political agenda. They're not outside the mainstream. They're outside of their stream. Okay, there you go. Which in their stream is outside the mainstream. Saw a poll the other day, and it said 66% of Americans say the reason why the media gets it wrong so many times is because of their hatred of President Trump. So now, remember, President Trump's around 46% approval. So there's another 20% of the American people out there who think the media is getting it wrong because of their hatred for Donald Trump, which means they're getting a little sick and tired of it too. Think about that. So you take the 46% that he has solid, and another 20% of people who are getting pissed off at the media for, screwing up stories about Trump and Mueller and everything else. They're saying, hey, okay, you can hate the guy, but keep it out of the damn news coverage. Can we just get the facts and stop trying to mess everything up to brainwash us? A lot of these people are independent. They're like, hey, don't insult us. We don't need to be brainwashed. We can read the story ourselves and figure out what side is up and what side is down. Let's see. Their goal. Okay, this is the Maisie Hirono. Oh God, this woman is so such a moron. I swear. Their goal in life, practically, is to change as many of the circuits to have all of these ideologically oriented judges sitting there for life. Bullshit. Okay, again, elections matter. President Obama put people who were on the same ideology as he was. That's democracy. You're president. You get to choose you get to nominate people for the bench. That's why I say you got to get on vote. So President Obama won in 2008. He won in 2012. He got to, literally, quote unquote, pack the court with judges he wanted to pick. That's how it works. And then President Trump wins. He gets to do the same thing. Before that, President Bush. Before that, President Clinton. Before that, President Bush Daddy. Before that, President Reagan. Okay, that's how it works in a democracy. Representative democracy, also known as a republic. But anyway, so I mean, you don't like it. Well, win the next election, and then you get to do the same thing. It happens every 4 to 8 years. It's really amazing how that works. All right, let's check the next story here. We got here. Oh, this is interesting. Here we go. Secret U.S. missile aims to kill only terrorists, not nearby civilians. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Again, two newspapers I subscribe to online, both the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Times. If you want to read some good reporting, now the Wall Street Journal is not necessarily pro-Trump, so you got to kind of read their stuff. But they have good reporting. They have reporters worldwide. Why? Because they cover a lot of financial markets. So they got people on the scene, in these financial markets around the world. So they're able to actually talk to people, get to know people. And, of course, you talk about money. You get to know people really well. And then they meet this friend and that friend. And they get to get some good reporting, good interviews and stuff like that, So and everybody wants to, be chummy with the Wall Street Journal. Why? Because they write a good article about your company. You stand to make a shitload of money. So there you go. But anyway, Wall Street Journal. Secret U.S. missile aims to kill only terrorists, not nearby civilians. Weapon doesn't explode, but brandishes knives to shred target. It was used in high-profile strikes in 2017 and this year. Take a look at this. Again, these stories, I read them at the same time you guys are reading them when I put them up. So, a specially modified, this is this picture here. I'll read it until we have to scroll down on it. A specially modified Hellfire is intended to limit damage compared to typical missiles. Left, the picture on the left is where they see the car all torn to pieces. Left, a car destroyed by a U.S. drone airstrike that targeted suspected al-Qaeda militants in 2012 in Yemen. Okay, so in other words, they show you this thing just wiped out the whole car, right? Now, on the right, in the picture we see the car's got some holes in the windshield and it's kind of dented a little bit. So then on the right, a U.S. airstrike using a modified Hellfire killed al-Qaeda deputy leader Abu Qayyar al-Masiri in Syria in 2017. And from left, Khalid Abdullah. Okay, so in other words, what they're showing you is you look at the picture on the left, that's the old technology, which just blows everything up around it. And then on the right is a new technology, which if you notice is how you see the hole in the top of the roof. It's like the hole in the top of the roof. The whole car's not flattened. Okay, so it's designed to target specific individuals and not kill a whole bunch of civilians as collateral damage, which is fine because if you kill a whole bunch of civilians as collateral damage, people get kind of pissed. They go, "Oh, you kill all these innocent people." Well, now you don't have to. Now you just target that one car and zap that car and not kill everybody else around them. So that's pretty cool, I think. Anyway, so but this is by Gordon Lubold and Warren Strobel again of the Wall Street Journal. Washington, the U.S. government has developed a specially designed secret missile. Well, it was secret. But anyway, secret missile for pinpoint airstrikes. Well, it's okay to brag once in a while. They have this secret. They probably figure it got out already. So they're just going to make it public and say, hey, look, man, that's what we're doing. Well, not to mention when that missile lands on that car, it only does that limited amount of damage. And then they, pull it out and they hand it off to the Chinese or the Russians and say, hey, tell us what the hell this is. Well, okay, it's not a secret anymore. But anyway, secret missile for pinpoint airstrikes that kill terrorist leaders with no explosion, drastically reducing damage and minimizing the chances of civilian casualties. multiple current and former U.S. officials said. Both the CIA and the Pentagon have used the weapon while closely guarding its existence. A modified version. Oh, hold on, let me get a cigarette. Yeah, I'm taking call. Yeah, give a gibber. Yes, are you taking calls? Yes, the lines are open. Okay, the line is not blocked. If you call, I will answer. So you just have to call. And let me see. Yeah, the phone. I'm looking right at it. So if you call, I will answer. So anyway, so yes, I am give a giver. I am taking phone calls. So yes, anybody wants to call in, the number is right up top. The number is like in three places. It's on the top right, it's in the center in the blue, and it's along the ticker in red on the bottom. So now, if you miss the phone number, I can't help you. Sorry. There you go. Disabled vet, and now it's four places. So it's right there. So now you got it in the chat room also. So if you missed the phone number now, I don't know what to tell you. You know, maybe Tourette syndrome or something, whatever. But anyway, so there it is. But anyway, uh, so okay, let's see here. So both the CIA and the Pentagon have used the weapon while closely guarding its existence. A modified version of the well-known Hellfire missile, the weapon carries an inert warhead. Instead of exploding, it is designed to plunge more than 100 pounds of metal through the top of cars and buildings to kill its target without harming individuals and property close by. Huh. To the targeted person, it is as if speeding anvil fell from the sky, the official said. But this variant of the Hellfire missile, designated as the R9X, also comes equipped with a different kind of payload, a halo of 6 long blades that are stowed inside and then deployed through the skin of the missile seconds before impact to ensure that it shreds anything in its tracks. Ooh, that just sounds scary. That is like really cool. Details about the secret weapon and its deployment were confirmed by more than a dozen current and former U.S. officials. Its development and use haven't been previously disclosed, though its existence has been the subject of a speculation. Well, I'm sure, like you're sitting in your car and all of a sudden all these knives come from the sky and zap you. It's like, how do those knives get from up there to down here and go through this car and land in that guy who's now sitting there with 6 knives in his body? Anyway, the R9X is known colloquially to the small community of individuals who are familiar with its use as the Flying Ginsu. Oh, man, that's too cool. The Flying Ginsu. For the blades that can cut through buildings or car roofs and kill the target. The nickname is a reference to the popular knives sold on TV infomercials in the late 70s and 80s that show them cutting through both tree branches and tomatoes. The weapon has also been referred to as the Ninja Bomb. I like the Ginsu one, the Flying Ginsu. Inert but lethal. The U.S. has developed a variant of the Hellfire. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about it. Oh, here's a picture of it. Check this out. That's pretty cool. Oh, let me push it up. There we go. Okay, there you go. There's a picture of it right there. So there's no warhead. It's got a seeker system. That's the guidance system out front. It's got the blades. They show the blades kind of come out there. And the pins in the back, the guidance system and stuff. And it looks like they got a guy standing next to it about 6 foot tall. And so this thing's about like 5'2", 5'2" long, and it's shot from a drone. The drones are all out here in Nevada, Nellis Air Force Base, Creech Air Force Base. I'm not giving away any secrets. You drive down the 95 freeway, you generally see a couple of drones flying over the freeway and landing over the base. The base is like right on the freeway, so it's like, oh, Juggers gave away a secret. No, man, if you're driving down the 95, the odds are, if you're driving down the 95 right past the base, you're liable to see one or two of these things flying overhead, which is kind of cool, by the way, because they kind of come over the highway and they come in for a landing and stuff. But yeah, it's just pretty cool. So, but yeah, they're right here. I mean, literally, probably about an hour from where I live. It's quicker as a crow flies, but you have to go around this big mountain and everything to get to it. But yeah, I mean it's right off the freeway, so it's pretty cool when you see these drones flying overhead and stuff, and all the guys with the joysticks and stuff. Yeah, they're all based out of Nellis. Actually, Nellis Air Force Base, all the way up to like Tonopah, Nevada. It's all federal land. You got the test site up there, Yucca Mountain. It's all federal land. So the Air Force uses that for training pilots and stuff, and military uses all kinds of facilities there for training. Because there's just tons of land. It's a Bureau of Land Management. Most of the land in the state of Nevada is actually federally owned. It's kind of based on our history because we came into the Union in 1864. It was right in the middle of the Civil War, and so the government, the U.S. government, to make sure that Nevada didn't become part of the Confederacy. 1864, the war, how the war ended was not a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination. Because it was in 1864, I believe that's when they took up. We got a phone call coming in. Please hold on. Hey everybody, this is Carl from Carl's Opinion. I just want to ask you guys just stay tuned. We'll be right back. Just working on some technical issues with the caller. And remember, this 2020 election is coming up sooner than you think, and we got to get out there and work. We can't be complacent. A lot of Republicans didn't work in 2018. A lot of Democrats did, and they got the results they wanted, and we did not get the results we wanted. But maybe we got the results we deserved. This is no time to be nice. This is time to get out there and work hard, people. We're not going to win this thing by just staying at home and doing nothing. Get your voices heard far and wide, everywhere it can be heard. Get on the internet. Talk to people you never met before. Talk to strangers. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Do whatever you have to do to get the word out that, hey, the country's doing great. We got peace around the world. We got peace over there in North Korea. Nobody's, launching missiles. Nobody's setting off bombs for testing purposes. Nobody's going to war. The economy's doing fantastic. Just had 3.2% GDP growth for the first quarter, which was way above expectations. We got American families feeling confident. We got spending going up. We got jobless claims for unemployment benefits at all-time record lows. We have unemployment for all Americans, regardless of race, ethnicity, or even gender, or even disability status, the lowest records of all time. These are great numbers, people. Okay, but if we don't get out and work, those numbers aren't going to create votes. We have to get votes out. And one, you definitely have to go out to the polls yourself, and you have to get your friends and your family and people you never met before out as well. Sign up at local political offices, either the Republican Party, maybe a local congressman or a state assembly worker or a state senator or a U.S. senator as well. Get out there and work, people. Anyway, please stand by. We're just working out some technical issues with the caller, and we'll be right back. So just bear with us for just a couple of moments, and we'll be right back, people. In the meantime, please enjoy the music. Thank you. Hey everybody, this is Carl from Carl's Opinion. I just want to ask you guys just stay tuned. We'll be right back. Just working on some technical issues with the caller. And remember, this 2020 election is coming up sooner than you think, and we got to get out there and work. We can't be complacent. A lot of Republicans didn't work in 2018. A lot of Democrats did, and they got the results they wanted, and we did not get the results we wanted. But maybe we got the results we deserved. This is no time to be nice. This is time to get out there and work hard, people. We're not going to win this thing by just staying at home and doing nothing. Get your voices heard far and wide, everywhere it can be heard. Get on the internet. Talk to people you never met before. Talk to strangers. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Do whatever you have to do to get the word out that, hey, the country's doing great. Hey, everybody. Back. Sorry we had some technical difficulties with that caller. To it, I wasn't going to let him on. He's an asshole. But anyway. Yeah, if you call in and I don't know you, you're not going right on the air. So don't waste your time. And if you think you're going to try to get something on YouTube on this site, you're nuts. It ain't going to happen. So don't bother trying. So anyway, sorry guys for the delay. Hope you enjoyed the zombie and the little words of wisdom that I was imparting on all of you. And so, yeah, every once in a while, we get some guy that just has to say something stupid. But, it's a free country, but this site isn't free. I mean, you don't have to pay to be on it, but I'm in charge of it. And I'm only going to let certain things on here. So anyway, hope you guys all enjoyed that. But anyway, back to this really cool picture. This is a really neat picture of the of the missile, and it shows the warhead and everything. So tell you what, let's just scroll down from there. Oh yeah, Effie, definitely a troll. Definitely a troll. In fact, I think it might be. Hold on. I think it's this guy. Well, I could be wrong, but if I am, I'll hate myself in the morning. But I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna think it's him. I think it was that guy. But anyway, so anyway, yeah. But no, it's and it was funny because I was talking to him and he was spewing all his bullshit, and I said, hey, you know what's funny? The only two people hearing this conversation, are you and me. And I go, look at your screen. And he looks at it, he goes, oh, well, I don't care. Well, obviously. But obviously he did. So here we go. Up, 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 up. No, 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 no. I'm not taking that one. Not taking that one. But, okay, let's go on and continue on with the story. Let's see here. Oh, where were we? All right. All right. The missile was born of an emphasis under former President Obama. See, I always like reading these stories for the first time with you guys because I'll read and I'll go, no shit. It's like, hey, look at that. Okay. The missile was born of an emphasis under former President Obama on avoiding civilian deaths in a long U.S. campaign of airstrikes in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, and other locales. Aside from humanitarian and legal considerations, civilian casualties can undermine popular and allied support for U.S. strategic goals. I totally agree. In other words, if we're just wiping out civilians left and right, it's hard to maintain support in other countries like Europe or even other friendly countries in the Middle East. If we're killing a whole bunch of Arabs and stuff, people would get kind of upset about that kind of thing. But if you can say, hey, look, we want to take out this one guy, at worst case scenario, we take out the one guy and the guy sitting next to him who also has a knife shoved in his body. But anyway, but there was another reason for the weapon, officials said. Increasingly, terrorist fighters were adapting to U.S. airstrikes, hiding among groups of women and children to put themselves out of reach. They do the same thing to the Israelis in the West Bank and Gaza. They use women and children as shields. They do it actively. They did it when they were attacking the wall, the fence between Gaza and in the state of Israel, between the West Bank and the state of Israel, putting the women and children up front, and then the women and children get hurt by tear gas. Oh, you hurt this little child. Well, who dragged the child to the freaking fence? I mean, okay. The weapon was under development as early as 2011. A missile with similar capabilities was considered as a Plan B to kill al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden in his compound in Abbottabad, that's a crazy name, Pakistan, that year, according to several of the officials. In the end, officials opted to target bin Laden using selected special operations force fighters who confronted and killed bin Laden. The weapon is used infrequently, employed only in specific circumstances, particularly when a senior terrorist leader has been pinpointed, but other weapons would risk killing innocent bystanders, the official said. Conventional Hellfire variants are more typically used against group of targeted individuals or against so-called high-value target who is convening with other militants. But when a lone individual is targeted, the R9X is a sought-after weapon. The Defense Department has used it only about half a dozen times, officials said, including in operations in Libya, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Somalia. The Wall Street Journal was able to confirm two specific strikes in which it was used, but one by the Defense Department and one by the CIA. In January 2019, just a few months ago, Jamal al-Badawi, accused of being behind the bombing of the USS Colon 2000 in a Yemeni port, killing 16 American sailors, was killed by R9X fired by the Pentagon. That's cool. The Pentagon has acknowledged the strike, which occurred in Yemen, though not the specific munition involved. See, this is Yemen, okay? This is where we keep, everybody says, oh, the Saudis are being mean to the people in Yemen. No, the Saudis are going there kicking ass and taking names. Okay. In February 2017, Ahmad Hassan Abu Khayyar al-Masari, an Egyptian national who served as al-Qaeda's number 2, was killed in Syria's. The number 2 reminds me of Austin Powers. Who is number 2? Who is number 2? Who is number 2? I think it was who is the boss of number 2? Who's the boss? Okay. Okay, the Egyptian national served as Al-Qaeda's number 2 was killed in Syria's Idlib province by an R9X fired by a U.S. aircraft operated by the CIA. The CIA doesn't acknowledge airstrikes it carries out. No, they're the CIA. The aftermath of such operations has prompted speculation about a possible new weapon among those who were there or viewed photos. The strikes bore no resemblance to the damage normally wrought by the U.S. airstrikes. A Hellfire, which is little more than 5 feet long and weighs just over 100 pounds, typically leaves behind mangled, burned-out shells of vehicles surrounded by debris and scorch marks over a large radius. The R9X leaves no such signature. Photographs of the aftermath of the strike on Mr. Masri show an oblong hole torn into the roof of the car in which he was riding. There are no burn marks suggesting an explosion. The windshield of the Kia sedan, well, there you go, he's driving a Kia sedan. That tells you everything about this guy. He should have been killed. The windshield of the Kia sedan is cracked, but the car's windshield wipers are still in place. That's pretty funny. Yeah, there you go. That's probably when this picture was taken. That could be Nevada, that desert out there. This thing, an undated photo of an unmanned attack aircraft that is capable of carrying 4 AGM-114 Hellfire air-to-surface missiles. I don't know if this is taken overseas, this picture, but I mean, that looks like southern Nevada. That could very easily be southern Nevada. And again, it's just literally around the corner from where I live, where they base these things and stuff. And again, I'm not giving away any secrets. You can see them from the freeway. They don't tell you don't look up while you're driving past the base. Okay, no, they. I mean, if you drive by, everybody looks up and says, "Hey, look at that, man! It's really cool." Okay, one former U.S. official said the weapon addressed a long-standing right seat, left seat problem, suggesting it is theoretically possible to kill someone sitting in the passenger seat of a moving car, but not the driver. Two militants reportedly were killed in the February 2017 strike. Because of the secrecy surrounding the weapon, the Wall Street Journal was unable to learn certain details about it, including its precise development timeline. The CIA, Pentagon, and Hellfire missile maker Lockheed Martin Corps declined to comment. Oh, Black and Irish. Hey, Black and Irish. Never trust North Korea. Oh, my God. Well, they're launching missiles. Let's see. Well, this one's going to take a few minutes. It's okay though. We're going the right direction. There's a story about North Korea I got covered up here somewhere. I'll see if I can get to it. Development and refinement. Okay, see. Development and refinement of the weapon drew impetus from Mr. Obama's policy announcement in May 2013 that set new rules for using lethal force outside of declared war zones such as Afghanistan. Okay, let me see if I can find that story on North Korea. I think I want to say it was in the Washington Times. I think I might have to jump back to another story to get to that one. Let's see. Where is it? Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. U.S. announces seizure. Hold on. Let me get a cigarette again. U.S. announces seizure of suspicious North Korea ship as Kim Jong-un fires more missiles. All right, let's pull this up. There's a picture of a ship. There we go. This undated photo released by the U.S. Justice Department Thursday shows a North Korean cargo ship, Wise Honest. The Trump administration says it has seized a North Korean cargo ship that U.S. officials say was used to whatever. Okay, but anyway, let's get to the story. By Ben Wolfgang and Jeff Murdoch, again of the Washington Times. Tension between the United States and North Korea escalated anew Thursday as Pyongyang conducted a fresh round of missile tests. The Trump administration announced the seizure of a North Korean ship accused of smuggling coal and heavy machinery in defiance of international sanctions. National security sources said the two developments underscored the widening shadow hanging over the failure of denuclearization talks with North Korea. The talks have been stalled since late February when President Trump's second high-stakes summit with North Korea leader Kim Jong-un ended without a deal. Officials said the North Korean cargo ship in question was seized in April 2018 by Indonesian authorities. The announcement Thursday that the vessel is now in U.S. custody revealed a first-of-its-kind sanction enforcement against Pyongyang by the Trump administration. The Justice Department made the announcement just hours after military leaders in South Korea confirmed that the North had fired two short-range missiles from the city of Kusang. Unease over the launches, which marked Pyongyang's second weapons test in 5 days, was elevated later Thursday. Reports that the North also conducted long-range strike kills during the day. Analysts say that the moves were particularly provocative given that Stephen Biegun, U.S. Special Representative for North Korea, was in Seoul at the time of the short-range test launches. Right. In other words, they knew he was there, so they while your negotiator's there, a special representative is there, we're going to launch some missiles, kind of like in your face kind of thing. All right. South Korean President Moon Jae-in quickly condemned the tests, but said they stem from pure frustration in the North over the failure of February's summit between Trump and Kim in Hanoi, Vietnam. The summit was cut short after the two failed to strike a far-reaching deal to end the North's nuclear missile programs. Mr. Trump said he had to walk away because Kim demanded sweeping sanctions relief in exchange for only a limited commitment to destroy part of his nuclear arsenal. Pyongyang later challenged that characterization. Mr. Moon has played an essential role in facilitating dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang, so the Kim regime is publicly lashing out in the hope of forcing Washington to offer relief from economic sanctions. This guy, I mean, the thing about Trump is, a lot of people say this about me, I wear it on my sleeve. Well, this guy wears it on his sleeve. If he thinks by firing a few missiles, Trump is going to walk over there with a hat in his hand saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to give you some sanction relief now." I mean, that's just the opposite of what this guy's going to do. I mean, that you're going to, next thing you can see a Trident nuclear bomb carrying submarine off the coast of North Korea, going to surface long enough for the Chinese to pick it up on their satellites, and then Kim's going to get another Friday night phone call telling him he has to come to Beijing immediately in the middle of the night, which is what they did last time. They had one of those nice Trident nuclear submarines out there. They brought it up at the right time when they knew the Chinese satellite was above, let them see it was there, and then put it back down and hit it and went off on its merry way. And then suddenly Kim gets a phone call in the middle of the night saying, "You got to get your ass to Beijing. We have to talk right now." Let him know that Trump, he's got 32 nuclear weapons parked off his coast, which would, in short order, with multiple warheads on each of those weapons, short order take out all of North Korea. Not to mention the bombers he sent over there and everything else. So I guess it's time again to send over the 7th Fleet and probably elements of the 6th Fleet back over to North Korea, to the South China Sea, and park them over there. I think they had 4 aircraft battle groups, carrier battle groups last time. Well, I guess it's time to do it again. You got one heading for off Iran, and now you're going to probably have to park a few off North Korea again. And again, we're going to start getting tough. And sorry, Trump's not going to cave because they fired a few missiles. I mean, I don't know who's giving them advice. I know it's not the Chinese. I know the Chinese aren't saying, well, unless the Chinese just want to mess with us through the North Koreans, we're in the middle of trade deals, trade talks with them. Or again, they're using North Korea. They told North Korea, "Oh yeah, fire your missiles," not telling them why. Maybe they told them, "You fire your missiles," and then Trump has to go to the Chinese. Chinese go, "Well, we can help you with that if you ease up a little bit on this trade talks." It's all power politics. I mean, if anybody just thinks Kim just woke up one day and said, "Oh, I'm going to fire some missiles," that'll do it. No. I mean, this is all coordinated, but that's okay. I mean, we got a smart guy in the White House right now. He understands all this power politics and negotiation and the art of the deal and all that crap. This is just art of the deal on steroids. That's all this is. You got your big high-level players. You got the Russians, the Chinese, us, the 3 biggest players, the 3 biggest kids on the block, all going at it, vying for power, buying for place in history. Then you got North Korea coming along, and they got their nuclear weapons, and they're all mismatched together. And of course, the trade deals with the EU and the trade deals with Mexico and Canada, all this all plays out together at the same time. So North Korea firing these missiles is probably just one way for the Chinese to become relevant again and try to get Trump to move a little bit on the trade deal, to try to get the Chinese to help with his non-existent problem, to it North Korea deciding to be militaristic, as if North Korea is going to go to war with anybody, because they would be completely wiped out, annihilated, literally in probably about 20 minutes. I mean, if that long. So if anybody normal wants to call in, that's fine. So go ahead and, if you want to call in, to go right ahead. I have a lot of your phone calls, your numbers and stuff, on my contact list. So if you call in, I'll know it's you. So anyway, or anybody wants to call in who's normal, that'll be fine. Not just looking to put some nasty stuff on my site. That's cool too. But anyway, so let me finish this story because it's Black and Irish. Brought this up. Hey, Black and Irish. All right. So let's see. Mr. Trump has insisted that North Korea commit to full denuclearization before any sanctions are lifted. But administration officials since Hanoi have also embraced a tempered posture toward North Korean provocations and rhetoric. Administration response to Thursday's missile test was mostly muted, although analysts say the president's foreign national security advisors may be weighing a response while their focus is consumed by other challenges. Excuse me. including Iran's most recent threats to restart its nuclear program and continued political upheaval in Venezuela. Mr. Trump briefly addressed the test, but as was the case after launches last week, he stopped short of delving into the sort of fire and fury rhetoric that he used in 2017, when North Korean nuclear bomb and intercontinental ballistic missile tests pushed tensions near a breaking point. Trump goes on to say, nobody's happy about it, Trump said of Thursday's test before reiterating that North Korea has tremendous economic potential it can unlock through a denuclearization deal with the United States. Justice Department, however, took direct aim at North Korea by delivering a clear message that the U.S. will vigorously enforce its economic sanctions. For the first time, federal authorities revealed how they have taken possession of a massive North Korean ship for violations of international sanctions. Prosecutors said the 17,000-ton cargo vessel, dubbed the Wise Honest, is the second largest in North Korea's fleet. Well, not anymore. They say Pyongyang used the ship to skirt sanctions imposed by the U.S. and the United Nations to export coal, a critical part of the isolated nation's economy. This scheme, U.S. Attorney for Southern District of New York, Jeffrey Berman, says, this scheme not only allowed North Korea to evade sanctions, but the Wise Honest was also used to import heavy machinery to North Korea, helping expand North Korea's capabilities and continuing the cycle of sanctions evasion. Assistant Attorney General John Demers said this sanctions-busting ship is now out of service. It is, guys. Assistant Attorney General gets to talk tough about some foreign deal. This sanctions-busting ship is now out of service. Well, that's cool. In a request, he went home to his wife and said, hey, did you see what I said? They reported it, too. Did you see that? I said that. His wife said, yeah, just shut up, will you? In a request filed in July, Justice Department prosecutors asked a New York federal judge to give the U.S. ownership of the vessel through a civil forfeiture action. It is the same action prosecutors take when they seize boats or cars used by drug dealers. The request was unsealed Thursday. Prosecutors said they have a right to take the ship because American banks unwittingly serviced payments for maintenance, equipment, and improvements of the Wise Honest, violating international sanctions. Analysts said the ship seizure, coupled with the missile test, shows how quickly the diplomatic goodwill that seemed to be developing between Washington and Pyongyang prior to the Hanoi summit could evaporate. Yep, that does happen. Let's see. All right. Right now, both sides think that the ball is in the other court to take action. The U.S. is not reacting strongly to these weapons tests, and if North Korea doesn't get satisfaction, it may decide it's necessary to do something. If Mr. Kim doesn't get what he wants from Washington, he could restart nuclear tests in a last-ditch attempt to force the administration to make concessions, Mr. Klinger said. As North Korea gets frustrated, it may continue going down that path, he said, describing nuclear bomb tests as a potential red line for Mr. Trump, a point at which the president may conclude he has no choice but to resort to military action against North Korea. Others say the very notion of such a scenario makes it all the more vital for negotiations to continue. La, 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 la. All right, let's see here. And along those lines, we was just talking about China and the trade and all that stuff. Okay, so here's Wall Street Journal. Again, if you want to talk about trade relations and negotiations, probably a good place. Albeit, remember the Wall Street Journal's always been a big fan of free trade, which means we get ripped off. But they've always been a big fan of that because a lot of their people they support make a shitload of money off import-export business, and most of the people they support don't live and work in the middle of the United States. They live along the coast where that kind of business makes them a lot of money. But nonetheless, they haven't been too bad lately. So here's a picture of U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin in the middle, and Chinese Vice Premier Liu He. So there you go. There's Steve right there in the middle. There's Lighthizer over there, and there's the Vice Premier over there with the guy with his hands on him. Like, hey, don't move. We can take a picture. But anyway, we got two really good guys over there negotiating. Got Mnuchin and Lighthizer. I always totally screw up the pronunciation of his name. But we got two really sharp guys over there. The Chinese have a harder time on this than we do because they have to give something up. We're $500 billion in the hole with the Chinese. We have a $500 billion trade deficit with them. So in order to make this thing fair, the Chinese have to give up some of their position. There's nothing for us to give up. We're $500 billion in the hole. And then they have to save face with their people. And remember, they're negotiating all these things and trying to push people around, in the South China Sea and Southeast Asia. And, they can't appear to be weak because they're trying to muscle in on a lot of places. And they're catching some resistance. So if they see like they caved too much, they're going to appear to be weak, and then you got people at home being pissed off with the current people in charge. And again, even though it's a dictatorship, trust me, ask Khrushchev, people can go. I don't care what kind of form of government you have. You can go. The Brezhnev took over from Khrushchev in 1960. What was that? 4? Can't remember. 3, 4, somewhere around there, I think. But anyway, so the Chinese have to give up a lot to make this deal fair, and there are a lot of people making a shitload of money in China who have a lot of very powerful friends in China, in both the military and in the intelligence services and in the Central Committee, who stand to lose a lot of money. Again, even if we drop that deficit by, like, say, half, $250 billion, comes off the deficit, that's $250 billion of money Chinese companies are losing. And then the technology transfer, there's a lot of technology they're going to suddenly not have, they were expecting to get, they're not going to have anymore. Let's be honest, the Chinese can't invent anything on their own. They're too stupid, but they sure as shit can know how to, copy something. They can draw between the lines, okay? So there you go. So, and that's what they've been doing. So they have a lot to lose on any kind of trade negotiations. And a lot of the discussions, it's hilarious because the discussions are out loud. So if anything, if you're trying to save face, you generally wouldn't say out loud, "Oh, we're trying to save face." But that's a lot of the discussions. Like, the Chinese, like, how do we save face? Where do we do this meeting? Do we go to D.C. and have this Rose Garden signing? Do we do it in Beijing? Do we do it in a neutral location? And what's the timing of it? Are we just, like, on our way somewhere? Like, part of the last time it was like, well, we're on our way to Brazil or something, and while we're on the way there, or on the way to Europe or whatever, we'll stop in D.C. to sign this deal. That's how silly it was becoming. But, again, when you're in power in China, that power is based on the people around you, and if they want you gone, they'll disappear your ass, and you'll be gone. Okay, so, or you'll get arrested for corruption or fraud, some trumped up charge, and next thing you're in prison or some labor camp for the rest of your life until you die. So there's a lot at stake for them, so they're really being very cautious. But I think a deal is going to get done. There's a lot to lose. Trump's talking about, well, I'll just put some more tariffs on. Well, the Chinese aren't used to that because, before there wasn't a single American president who had the balls to say, we're just going to slap some tariffs on you. And they're like, no, you won't. The American people won't stand for it because we'll tariff like soybeans. And then Trump said, oh, you will? Then remember Trump passed that Farm Act. And what did he do? Provided all kinds of subsidies to soybean farmers. It's like, hey, don't mess with us. Like, we may have... our debt to GDP may be 100% of our gross domestic product, which is 20 trillion a year. But we always have plenty more money we can use. If you're gonna punish people that export goods to your country, Trump's like, don't worry, I'll fill that in for you. And of course he knew the Farm Bill was going to pass subsidies to the farmers. Why? Because it included the state of Iowa, the Midwest. In the Midwest, it's a battleground for 2020, just like it was, unbeknownst to the Democrats, until the night of November 8th. Midwest is going to be the battleground for 2020. So unless you want to, like, piss those people off and say, oh, we're not going to back any subsidies for farmers, good luck. Especially when your first stop in the campaign season for the primaries would be the Iowa caucus. Yeah, go out loud and say we're not going to back. So Trump knew the Democrats were going to have to vote for yes on that, and they did. What are they going to do? They couldn't say no. Oh, you're going to say no to farmers in Iowa? Okay, yeah. So Trump had the Democrats over a barrel. The Chinese misread the situation. I don't know why. They put newspaper advertising into newspapers in Iowa and the Midwest, trying to tell these Midwesterners, how bad it was what Trump was doing. And then once they were exposed as, well, who was behind these newspaper advertisements, they found out it was the Chinese. Well, it's all you tell those people in the Midwest. It's like, oh, the Chinese are trying to brainwash you, Oh, well, screw them. And, I don't know whose idea that was. Kind of like the Russian ideas with Facebook during the 2016 election. It's like, really? That did anything? No. It's like, these people around the world, again, in America, Americans, we generally wear it on a sleeve. Like I said, Trump does and I do. But America, as a general rule, we generally wear it on our sleeve. We're pretty easy to figure out. And so all these intelligence services can't seem to ever figure us out, and we're like right here in the open. It's like, I don't know why, but so be it. But anyway, let's cover this story. This is a good one here. Well, I don't. Well, I'm assuming it's good. Again, I haven't read it yet, so let's get to it. All right. This is by, again, the Wall Street Journal by Greg Ip and Yoko Kabuta. I think I read a story from them this week already. The sudden deterioration of trade talks between the United States and China this week has raised the prospect of a once unimaginable rupture between the world's two largest economies. Whether talks ultimately yield a deal, the decades-long integration of the two economies appears bound to go into reverse as mutual suspicion and geostrategic rivalry permeate political and personal relationships. The signs are accumulating. Manufacturers of shoes, cameras, and iPhones are looking to move production beyond China. American officials are forcing Chinese investors to sell their stakes in American startups. Chinese scientists' visas to visit the United States are facing delays. How much further this decoupling goes depends critically on what sort of a deal, if any, emerges from the current negotiations. A new Cold War of limited and tightly controlled interactions isn't likely. China is simply too big and too globally integrated. Nonetheless, American and Chinese investors, businesses, and scholars could find themselves increasingly operating in separate spheres, pursuing separate strategies. That's funny. Let's see. Okay, the investment flows between the U.S. and China have begun to ebb. Flows of student and researchers may be next. Chinese investment in U.S. By investor type, 50 billion. Financial investor, see, that's showing it going down. 2005, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, going down there, going down here, and this going Chinese students studying U.S. Now, here's the numbers going up. Look at this. From 2005, say, what's that number? 100,000. It was like 50,000 in 2005. Then you look at the scale here. Now, a lot of these guys are spies, and that's true. So you got 50,000 here in 2005, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, up to around 350,000. And how many of those thousands are spies? Like that guy that worked for Dianne Feinstein, that was her driver, that was actually around when she was on the phone talking to people. Some of these early trends are apparent. Trade flows, once driven by cost, quality, and proximity to customers, increasingly reflect political priorities, whether it is Chinese purchases of U.S. energy and agriculture or the location of manufacturing plants. Even if President Trump eventually lifts tariffs, multinationals will know they can be reimposed if tensions flare again, and China could slap tariffs too. Could slap tariffs on us too. So to limit their exposure, many will shift assembly of U.S.-bound goods to third countries less exposed to protectionist threats. In some cases, the uncertainty stemming from trade tensions were the final nudge for companies already facing rising costs in China to go elsewhere. Chinese aren't happy about that. Camera maker GoPro, I think I have one of those cameras, a camera made by them, is moving production for the U.S. market from China to Guadalajara, Mexico. Well, the Mexicans will be happy. Shoemaker Steve Madden is moving production to Cambodia. Ford Motor Company has largely scraped plans to export vehicles from underused Chinese factory space back to the U.S. Taiwan-based Foxconn Technology Group is weighing assembling Apple Inc.'s iPhone in India, a huge emerging smartphone market. Bundles of aluminum ingots stack up in Wuxi, China amid rising trade tensions with the U.S. Photo. Look at that. Damn. That's a lot of stuff. The dude right there. Hey, I'm right here. Consumers often won't notice a camera or a shoe once labeled made in China will now say made in Mexico or made in Cambodia. U.S. imports from China will shrink while imports from Mexico or Southeast Asia will rise. Well, again, we're working out a deal with, we just worked out a deal with Mexico, and so if everybody's on the same page, it's not the worst thing in the world. But elsewhere, China's absence will be more noticeable. The U.S. has effectively banned Huawei Technologies from supplying equipment for American telecommunications networks for fear it could become a backdoor for China to spy on Americans. As the definition of national security expands, more companies and sectors may get Huawei treatment. That's pretty funny. But yeah, so it looks like, we're going to have a little fight on our hands with the Chinese. That's okay. It's okay to be in a fight once in a while. The trick is just make sure you win it at the end of the day, which it looks like we're in a good shape to actually start doing. But anyway, it's we've been on for about an hour and 40 minutes or so. So I'm probably going to call it an evening tonight. And I do want to thank everybody who's in the chat and everybody who participated. I thank the one troll for calling in. That was kind of fun. It kind of made my evening, actually listening to him spew his vile hatred, which unfortunately I kept off kept off the site But anyway, so other than that, I want to thank all of the moderators and everybody who's been here tonight. Everybody who'll be viewing later. And for Carl, this is Carl's opinion. Everybody have a great night and make it a great tomorrow. I forgot who made up that corny line, but I just used it. And I think it was from a movie, but nonetheless. Anyway, guys, this is Carl for Carl's opinion. Have a great night. You take care. Bye-bye.